For me, I'll just tell everyone, I think it's important that we write down our goals, write down the things that you want to do in 2026, show them to someone and ask them to hold you accountable. That's the way you're going to make it happen in 2026.
If you do what you've always done, you'll get what you've always got. So I think it's a really good time to reflect over these next few weeks if you're taking the downtime. And what is the goal for next year? That mindset of short-term urgency, long-term consistency.
Don't go too fast and take your time while you are going after whatever you're going after, and just make time to reflect and pause. Those little micro reflections all the time. It's about the what's going well as the what do I need to change or learn.
I'm just gonna say get after it. Like whatever it is, like Andy mentioned, talked about. Don't wait. Get after it. Try it. Experiment. Be courageous. Learn something.
Hello and welcome to this episode of the Lean Solutions Podcast. My name is Patrick Adams, and I am joined by Shane, Catherine, and Andy, the amazing hosts from around the world. Hey guys, how's it going?
Good.
Very well. Yeah.
I'm good, mate.
Good. As everyone, well, those of you that have listened to the podcast for a while know that Catherine is in Ireland and Shane is in Nebraska and Andy is in Australia. So we're on all different time zones right now. So it's always interesting when we get together to kind of touch base on how things are going in each person's part of the world because it's always a little different, right? I mean, Andy, what time is it in Australia right now?
So it's 20:07 in the morning. Yeah.
So 7 a.m. in the morning. Here on Eastern time, it's almost 3:30. So I guess the minutes are the same, right? So just after 3 p.m. In Michigan. And then Shane, what do you have?
I got just after 2.
After 2 p.m. So you're 1 hour behind us. Yep. And then Catherine, where are you at in Ireland?
Yeah, 8:20 in the evening.
In the evening. Wow. Always a big spread. So normally on Eastern time, we figure around 3 p.m. is a good time for, I guess the best we can get for everyone. So early morning for Andy, late night for Catherine, and then afternoon for us. But we're excited we're almost to the new year. The next time that we see each other, guys, it's going to be next year. It's pretty awesome. So we're that close right now, but we wanted to take some time with, if those of you that have listened to the podcast for a while, we normally have guests on and it's usually 2 of us or 1 of us that's interviewing a guest. Well, today we're going to do something a little bit different and we want to do a little reflection on 2025 and talk about those behaviors, those habits, those feelings, those emotions, those things that are super important that happened in 2025 that we want to carry over into 2026. The things that for any leader in any organization, no matter what industry you're in, these particular habits, behaviors, whatever it may be, these are important for you in developing a true culture of continuous improvement going into 2026. So we're just going to kind of reflect on some of the things over this past year that we felt were very impactful during conversations that we had with certain guests or with each other. And we just want to pull some of those out and give you a little summary of those. And I think the best way to do that is to start with reflection, because that's actually what we're doing right now. We're reflecting on 2025 and all those, the valuable things that happened. I want to go to you, Catherine, and just ask you, why is reflection important? Let's start with that question. Why is reflection important?
Hi, Patrick. So reflection, I'm glad you brought it up. It's definitely one of my growth areas for 2026. I'm a coach, so I do spend quite a lot of time prompting reflection in other people, but it's not always so easy to do it for yourself. So it's really important, I think, for personal growth. And what's really important is that we do it properly. So what I see in myself and other people is that we don't always reflect properly. It's easy to get caught up in the feeling of something, or it's easy to get caught up in the thoughts of what happened today or last week or this year. But it's not so easy to push yourself past the feelings and the thoughts to get to the learning and to understand how do I adjust my own behaviors based on what I've learned this year. To me, that's a proper reflection, and it's not something we're all good at. So it's one of my growth areas, Patrick, for next year, just so you know.
I love it. And
Yeah.
so, Catherine, if you like, I think for some of us, we naturally take time at the end of every year to reflect, hey, how do we do this year? What's
Right.
our plans for next year? That type of thing. Is that the proper way to reflect, or should we be doing it more frequently? And if so, which I think I know your answer, if so, how frequently should we be reflecting, and what does that look like for someone?
So I'm a big fan of micro reflections.
Mm.
That's an
Oh,
actual
tell me
term.
more.
Yeah. So micro reflections, you can do them all day, any day. It's a little bit different to mindfulness, where we are in the moment and we're aware of what's happening in the moment in terms of our own behavior or others' behavior or the situation. This is after an interaction or after an incident, where we just pause for a moment in our day and we just think back on what happened, how we felt about it, what we think about it, what we learned about it, and what does that mean for us going forward. And I really do believe that it's every day. It sounds like a lot, but it's not when you form the habit.
What goes into that? Yeah, I'm just curious. If I'm doing this all the time throughout the day, because I love that idea of the micro reflections. I mean, we just kind of, some of us just naturally do that anyways. But in order for that to be, like you mentioned, taking reflection past just thinking about it into the learnings, like what would be what are some points to that micro reflection that make it effective and impactful?
So we need to set ourselves up for success with habits. Habits don't just form. We need to shape the environment and shape the systems around us, our own personal systems, in order for habits to actually catch, right? So, for example, if we have a 50-minute meeting, it's much better than having a 60-minute meeting and then rushing into the next 60-minute meeting. If we take 50 minutes and we finish up and we think about that meeting and we make our notes and we fill in our to-dos and we send our emails or whatever we have to do, it's going to be a lot more effective than rushing straight into the next thing. Same thing goes for if you're in the car on the way home from work, something's happened that day. It's a good time to process it before we get home, before we get to our family, if we're upset about something. And again, it's down to just understanding when the good times are for us and setting it up that way for ourselves to have the time and space to be able to do it.
Very good.
Mm.
Andy, what do you think when it comes to reflection in, just looking back in 2025? I mean, do you have certain points of reflection that you learned something that you were able to kind of pull ahead throughout the year? Or is there anything specifically that you would say, right now at the end of the year, I'm looking back and here's a couple things that I've learned and how I'm going to make those adjustments going into 2026?
Yeah, definitely key moments. I think so. A big fan of the daily reflection, and again, why I'm passionate about the daily stand-ups and those sorts of interactions with teams. Like that's an opportunity to do that daily reflection in the moment and with some tangible outcomes. But yeah, I think mine, looking back, has been a fair bit of change for me this year with going into my own business and plus going to the US for the summit and some other bigger things I've taken on with a bit of uncertainty at the front of it. Yeah, I call them milestone reflections, and it's really been about, okay, this was, I guess I set myself up for the reflections in a way like saying, okay, I'm about to step into something I have never done before, like on my own, and it's all about me. If it's good or bad, my face is stuck to it. So I actually carved out some places, utilized some Carter type experimentation board artifacts to help me kind of what do I think is going to happen, and then when I look back, so I've done a bit of that, and really about okay, well, this is happening, it's new, it's different, a little bit unnerving. I think this will happen if, and then I come back after the moment and go, okay, write down a couple of things that happen. That then leads me to the point to go, okay, well, yeah, I've covered that, aced it, and I'll just copy paste next time with a bit of refresh, or well, mate, you jump the shark, as they say, and here I can build some little actions or workarounds to then go on again. But lots of reflection, hence say, is one of the key parts of a lean culture, right? And I really think there's two pieces to the reflection. you have to have yourself open to feel a bit bad about things. So you stepped in and you know that you're potentially going to feel a bit disappointed in yourself. But what are you going to do if you feel like that? So having that plan again of how you can have someone to reach out to before or after, in the moment, to get some coaching and advice. Someone like Catherine, who is goes in, helps out with that, or yourselves. The other bit is get ready to feel really good and write down why you feel so good. I've just a note taker, prolific note taker, or using some AI to capture my verbal thoughts in the moment and play that back and share. Don't be afraid to share. So a bit in that, but yeah, because it's been such a big year with some of those milestone moments, I've really tried to work hard to capture before, during, and after how I'm feeling, because that's, if it's coming at me again next time, I can go, oh, hang on, you've kind of been here before. So such a big part of what I'm going to do stepping into next year is just take the lessons learnt, and hopefully that can be some good examples of what to do or not to do for others as well. So really sharing them, but looping back to that daily reflection is like, okay, how did I go yesterday? What's the plan for today?
Yeah.
So
I love that you mentioned the feeling that you had during that moment, because I think that's maybe an important piece that maybe is missed a lot of times, because now if you've identified the feeling in that moment, when that same feeling comes again, it'll be easy for you to make those connections because you called it out. So I think that's a really good call out for sure.
I think, going on that, Patrick, what I like to think of feelings as they're just flags. They're just notifications of what's going on inside. It doesn't necessarily have to be true. It's just something to be aware of, that my body is trying to tell me, hey, are you aware of this? It could be fear, it could be joy, it could be connection, whatever those feelings are. It's a flag or a notice that says, are you aware of this? And I can go, yes, I am. Thank you very much. I got it. Or no, I did not know that. Okay, maybe I need to look into that deeper. But to not let that be the only thing, but just recognize, hey, this is just a notification, almost like on my phone, notification that says, ding, did you know this? Did you know this? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and that's that emotional intelligence, right? I'm such a big fan of that. That really opened my eyes. The other reflection, just a little fun one, is I'm not coming to you guys live from a laundry in Victoria this year. I'm actually in my house. Remember last year we did this episode and I was buried up in a laundry in the middle of God knows where in rural Victoria in Australia. So
now you have a barbecue behind you. For those that are listening in, you can't see Andy's background, but he's got a barbecue in the outback, a Christmas barbecue happening behind him right now.
Yes, I love
Definitely
it.
Better than the laundry room look. Definitely.
and it's so hot down here at the moment, so I feel like I'm on that barbecue. So pardon me for sweating.
Nice. We got a bunch of snow, so it's quite a bit different here. Shane, let's go to you on, again, just reflecting on this last year and thinking about, what are the things that you think are important to take into consideration as we move into 2026? Is there one thing that you would call out and say, don't forget to bring this along when you move from 2025 into 2026?
There are a couple. And one of the first ones that I learned as I reflect on what I learned about myself in 2025 is, as Andy is, if he hasn't noticed, he will come into, when you start your own business, you try to figure out where the itch is. How can I serve my customers? What can I do? And sometimes when something doesn't work, you just add another thing to it, until I came to the point where there were so many things that I didn't like to do that didn't bring me joy. So joy is one of those things that I want to bring with me, understanding that not everything is going to be Disneyland and sparklers, but if I'm not doing that which brings me joy, then I may not be serving the best. Like if I'm trying to do something that may meet a need but doesn't bring me joy, then I might not be the best person to try to meet that need. I mean, there are some things you have to, but I want to be more aware of where I have joy, because with that, then I think that's where I can thrive. That's where I can grow, and make the biggest impact and provide the most value for those that I'm working with and trying to support. That's I don't know. I'm not trying to simplify and say, don't do anything that makes you feel anything but joy, but when I went through all the things that I was trying to do, one of the things that I had to do is start to shrink that list. Hey, maybe I don't need to be all these things, because some of them just don't bring me joy. And I'm old enough in my career, or my walk of life, that, you know what, I don't have to do the things. I don't have to do those things. I already know that I'm not going to be great at that. So what is it that's going to bring me joy? Because I want to bring that joy with me in everything I do.
Yeah, I like that. I actually one that I wrote down that I wanted to bring into our conversation was surface problems early and ask for help. And it's almost like kind of ties in with that, because I think about what are the things that are causing headaches, what are the things that are causing that are becoming roadblocks or taking joy away.
Right.
It's almost the opposite of what you're saying, and I think it's important that we do both. Not only
Yeah.
do we identify the problems or the challenges that we're dealing with, make them visible, bring them to the surface so that we can deal with them, but also, what are the things that are bringing us joy, and let's surface those and make sure that those are also items that the problems we're gonna eliminate, the things that bring us joy we're gonna try to elevate, and I think that that's a great way to think about it. Catherine, did you have something on this too?
I was just going to say that it's become quite popular in the last few years, strengths-based coaching, where it's not so much actually about working on your weaknesses and focusing on what you're not good at and getting better at it, because all of us have this kind of natural level and we have to work extra hard if we want to get better at something. But the thought behind strengths-based is, well, why don't you figure out what you're really good at and do more of that? And the parts you can't do, maybe somebody else can do them, like Shane just said. And if that works, is that not a kind of an easier life for everyone? Everybody will always have development areas, but we don't need to make it harder than it is, or life harder than it is.
It's so
Thank
true.
you.
So
Thank
true.
you. Doesn't need to be harder than it
Yeah.
is.
I saw a really good article or report, I guess, from the University of Sydney, and it says we're entering the decade of disorientation, and it was talking about this. Get ready, the speed of change, of technology, people needs, and all that sort of thing. Like how we're going to manage being disoriented for the near future. And I mean, maybe we've always had something like that, but it was just really fascinating how they're pointing the different leadership habits and behaviors and skills around what they believe will help us navigate that disorientation. So I think that's tying in really well. And the reflection piece, right? If you want to go somewhere, you got to kind of know where you are, where you've been, to help you kind of not make the same mistakes. Or as you said, this one makes me feel good. I really love doing it, and I can get someone to help me with that. I'm going to move more in that direction. So it's really fascinating research that they've been doing in this space.
Yeah, absolutely. Shane, what you said you had two. Joy was one. What was the other
Yeah.
one that you had that you wanted to bring forward into 2026?
Space to be creative. I think. I mean, that's what I would hope and wish for. As I'm thinking about our listeners and our audience that we've engaged with, is that they would have or carve out space to be creative. So, moving away from the reactive and, always being pounded by whatever it is, that's not going to stop. That's just the way life is. That's why, Catherine, I loved when you said it. Let's not make it any harder than it is, because life is already hard and it's always going to be moving. We're not going to stop it. So knowing that, can I just say, hey, I'm not going to be able to complete this task, or I'm not, whatever it is, because it's important for me to carve out some time, to be creative and to be much more proactive. And I think that we are creative beings. I think that we thrive in that. And so to intentionally set aside that time, it makes me think back. I'm sorry that I can't remember our guest's name. He has a company that works in medical storage, movable medical storage, and that lean aspect of creating those spaces. And one of the things that stuck out to me was they allow, if it's not every day, it's at least every week, they allow like 45 minutes. I thought it was every day. The beginning of every day, they allow 45 minutes for people to work on lean things. And lean in general it's that's all about being creative. It's all about thinking creatively and strategizing and planning and reflecting and critiquing. That takes creative juices. and it takes energy and time. And I don't know that we do it service when we're just trying to, well, I have 15 minutes right now before my next meeting. I just stepped out of one. Like, my brain can't keep task switching effectively, and me try to cram in some kind of reflection and some kind of creative space. Like, I think that needs to be part of my leader standard work, to have time to be creative. And if that just means I'm just staring at a blank page for a while, but going back to what Catherine said, what are the habits that I'm building, or the space that I'm creating for those habits to fill in when, I'm able to.
I remember that conversation, Shane. And do you remember what our guest said? He said, we didn't start out with 45 minutes. We started out with about 2. So
Right.
Sometimes we think we need the perfect habit,
Right.
in order to create our, whatever we're trying to achieve, creativity. We just need to put one foot forward. We just need to take one little step, create 2 minutes. Then when we start seeing the benefit of that, actually we'll give it more. And I think that when it comes to habits, that's really important too. They're so difficult to create in ourselves. And we have to go easy. It's like getting up and going for a run. As a lot of people said to me, it's about putting on the clothes in the morning. That's actually the habit you need to form, not the habit of planning the runs and doing, 10 miles a week. Putting on the clothes in the morning. So it's the little steps and understanding what they are.
I think that's so true. It's just like COVID, working from home. I found it really, and when I'm working from home sometimes now, I'll get myself up, put different clothes on. A lot of people are doing meetings in their pajamas and things like that. But the other part too is some not so great habits are really hard to bust as well. So it's that daily discipline again, or the reflection daily around, oh no, I kind of slipped into that habit again, or someone gives you that feedback, or you just know that things aren't, whether that's in your professional or personal health wise space. I think that's, habits, we've all got them. It's just, how are we moving more towards being more deliberate, the ones that are positive and bring more joy to us and others, as opposed to, uh-oh, I've done it again. So
yeah, really good point. And I love that you mentioned running, Catherine, because I think about, I used to run pretty regularly. I used to run 3 miles. When I would go run, I would run approximately 3 miles in distance. And there was a time where I was like, if I don't run 3 miles, it's not worth it to me. And, then I got to the point where I wouldn't run for months, because I'm like, I only have time for 1 mile, or I don't feel like running 3 miles. And that's where I got to the point. But it's like, even if you just keep those habits, even if it's the small things, just take the 20 minutes, the 10 minutes, and do something that keeps that habit moving in the right direction. Because if you don't, you're going to lose it. And if those things are important to you, if those are the inputs that are giving you some type of output that you're looking for, then you have to be consistent. Consistency is the key with those things. So don't allow the distractions or the feelings of, I don't feel like it, or I don't want to do it, or I want something different. Just keep the habit going, be consistent, even if it's the small things. And the benefits of that far outweigh not doing anything at all. So,
and that's where reflection ties back in as well, because if we spend 10 minutes running, let's say, and we do that for a couple of days, and then we reflect on, okay, well, what have I done in those 10 minutes? How do I feel about it? Could I possibly extend it to 12 minutes? How could I do that? Would that be a big deal? No, probably wouldn't be. It's only when you reflect, you understand, and you start, like Andy said, you appreciate what you're doing. You think of the benefits of what you're doing for yourself. So
yes.
Again, our reflection, I think we tend to focus on the negative too much. And I loved what Andy said about almost the celebratory aspect of reflection, because that is just so important and we don't do it.
So much so.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Andy, what was you had something you wanted to pull into 2026 before we hit record. You mentioned, what was that one thing that was important to you?
Yeah, being grounded. So
yeah.
Just being a grounded leader. And I mean, whatever space you're operating in your life, in your organization, you are a leader in some way. So really, how can you be more grounded? and sometimes that's when you're getting excited and chasing something, and you can kind of get a little bit too excited, as I have when I reflect over this year. But yeah, trying to bring yourself back down in some ways to go, okay, well, just kind of remember where you're going or why you're here, and remember it's about, as Catherine said, one step after the other. And from a leadership perspective, I think that this term, the grounded leader, that people naturally, people will normally follow a bit more than I don't know whether you've heard the term, the ricochet rabbit. So the leader that's just bouncing off the walls everywhere, or red drink. They're just really, people don't really see this strong, steady leadership that cultivates, good taste. They can help their teams unpack things, be creative, but also controlled in some ways. Making sense of situations, like you go to that person, say, look, it's all over the place, and they go, yeah, I know, but hang on, remember why we're here. And yeah, this thing about they're placemakers and they're lifelong learners. So it's about, look, I'm doing some really good stuff, and I might have invented something that the world has never seen, but you know what? I've still got a long way to go in some other ways. So just kind of that humble, leading with humility type thing. I just find that the people that I enjoy being around, they're hard but fair, or they're grounded, right? They recognise, yeah, I'm here for a reason, and there's some things that I can do that you can't, for example.
Mm-hmm.
But I also respect and recognise that you're in my team, and you know something that I don't, and we need to work together. But yeah, at the end of the day, depends what's coming at them, whether that's a really good thing, or we've got a big disturbance or a clash, and we could be in a lot of strife or trouble, if that's a different word. This person has some control. They're self-aware. They reflect themselves, and I trust that even if none of us know what's going on, they can keep themselves grounded, and we can push further forward together. So yeah, trying to get me grounded, and as those who know me better than others, I do find sometimes I feel like I'm a kid hanging onto the balloons and disappearing up into the sky a bit too much sometimes. And that's really a key focus for me, is to keep celebrating and chase it. But yeah, just make sure that you're looking back and am I still grounded? Because it could be.
I think it's an important point. And for me personally, I think my leader standard work helps me to do that, because as I reflect back on things that I'm learning, each week or each day, and then I'm making adjustments accordingly, I have to update my own personal leader standard work to, again, kind of keep myself grounded in what are those daily, weekly habits or those inputs that are important that I have to continue to do and be consistent on, that are going to give me the results that I'm looking for. So I think that's an important point. Shane, what do you do to stay grounded? Anything specifically that you maybe have done in 2025 or you're going to do in 2026 just to keep yourself grounded?
I really like what Andy said, and when he said it, it resonated, because without even knowing, or without doing it intentionally, I wrote down, I'm here for a reason, and what is that reason? What am I trying to do? And to have that, as I look through the whole year, and whether it was, a time where, I was scrambling to find clients, or I had more work than my plate kind of had, or I had to expand my plate, whatever it was, to remember, what am I here for again? Who is it that I'm serving? It's kind of like just going, from the lean perspective, it's trying to understand what's the value from the customer's perspective, and that's why I'm here, is it to serve? Is it to do this and this? Well, if it isn't, then why am I chasing that? Like that's the grounding sometimes that I need. What am I here for? And am I true to myself?
Yeah, I love that. And my mind went directly to execution, I guess. And, and I think that that's a really good point. Like, even thinking about, in our personal lives, why are we here? What do we exist for? Do we have our own personal purpose statement? But also within the work that each of us are doing in our business, whatever role you play in your business, thinking about the customer, whether it's an internal, external customer, what is the value that you're providing to your customer, and are you connecting your daily work to customer value? Like, what are you doing every single day, and asking yourself, how is this? How are these daily priorities actually linked to customer impact? And maybe even looking at, what are the non-value add activities that are happening regularly that need to be questioned or challenged or driven out? And so I think that can also help keep us grounded. And that actually makes me think about something that you mentioned, Catherine, about just thinking about looking back at the traditional 7 or 8 wastes and value add versus non-value add. You had maybe an exercise or some conversation around that you wanted to share.
Yeah, so I was thinking earlier about habits and about how we look at habits in organizations, and how we don't really actually enough of the time we look at the processes, but we don't look at the behaviors and habits enough. So I just did a little exercise and I used the 8 wastes. I'm not sure if anybody uses those or if everybody uses those, but for those who don't know the 8 wastes of lean, there's an acronym with which we understand them. So it's downtime, DOWNTIME, at least that's the one I use. So I have a little exercise. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to call out each of the 8 wastes, right? So starting with the D, which is defects. And I'm going to ask you guys, right, who's going to be first to put up their hand to tell me about a personal habit, okay? A bad habit, and then what they can do to change that bad habit, right? So it's only a bit of fun. So, and I think it'll help actually our listeners, because when I sat down to do this on myself, I looked at it and I said, you know what, we're all guilty of these things. So I think it's no harm to put it out there and go, you know what, you're not alone. We all have these bad habits, but there are ways to change them. Right. So who is going to be the first to tell me about a defect? So mistake, something that causes rework in your life. What do you think?
I'll go. I'll just jump in, and it might be a bit boring, but I just have one that jumped straight out, was overcooking presentations and proposals, right? So when writing either material to share with audiences or to pitch to a client, just the amount of there's just some things that I've reflect on and I've learnt through that experience around having to kind of rework them over and over to death, in the point where you're over processing, which is another one of the wastes, right? So
an overlap.
I'll start there. And I do find that,
Andy, the important question is, what is the habit then you need to, I guess, take on in order to stop doing that, do you think?
It's having a better, more deliberate set of better questions. Okay, so trying to, and the habit is not to get, if a large corporation reaches out to me, I don't let the excitement and the potential of what could be down the track distract me from, hang on, it's the process, these are the key things that we need to get out of this conversation, to try not to make it too long. So it's very much about, okay, well, I've kind of written down some process steps, right? A bit of a standard work for how I engage. Okay. And
excellent.
It can be quite subconscious early in the piece. So I was just like, oh yeah, okay, no worries. But now I'm like, no, hang on, it's game time. So
there you go. So actually you've covered the first 2, defects and overproduction. Okay, who's going to tell me about waiting? Where do we see ourselves waiting, and what kind of habits can we create or take up to prevent that waiting waste in our lives?
That's a good one. Waiting and personal. Let me think here. I just think about, it immediately popped into my head, waiting to pick up my daughter from basketball practice. And I think just thinking about, it seems like every time I'm there, I'm waiting forever for her. And I know it's a personal thing, but her and I need to communicate better. So we have to have better communication, and for me to show up at the exact time that she needs me to be there, versus, me trying to be early and then waiting, would be 2 things: communication, and then, being there at the exact time.
Yeah, and that you can kind of see how that works in workplaces as well, in terms of waiting and processes, and people thinking that other people are doing something and then it doesn't happen and it all falls apart. So my one actually on that was waiting for the perfect time to start something. And that's come
on now.
Yeah, I was Yeah,
Big
I
win.
was going to say that
Right?
hit only because I'd said something before. I was like, oh, just
Yeah.
waiting to start with some
Yeah.
things.
Yeah. Or just
Just give it a
do it.
go. I tell
Exactly.
everyone else to do it.
The next one is non-use of talent. Okay, so where are we guilty of non-use of talent ourselves, and what could we do? What habit could we start?
That I'll take that one, because one of the things that I'm still working on in my marriage is the non-use of talent that is in my wife when it comes to being a thought partner. I'm getting much better, but
Yeah.
for a long time it was just like, it's in my head, and it was more work to get it out of my head to try to explain it to her so that she could then roll it around, because we think totally different, which I now see as, holy cow, there's such an amazing talent right here to be able to like collaborate with. And so for me, that's, I'm gonna go with, for Catherine, as I'm looking into, hey, how can I use this more, or where do I want, what's the habit I want, is bringing my wife on early enough to where I don't have the roadblock of, there's so much information I have to share with her that it's just not even worth it, and I'll just take care of this myself. But really having a partnership of collaboration with her on things, along the way, those micro, kind of like micro steps. So that's what I would say.
Yeah, good, great, excellent example. The next one is transportation waste. Okay, what do we think about this one?
Movement of materials.
Or not, or
Yeah,
information.
I'm just thinking about. I have a tendency to when I have um, work that I have like materials that I'm working on, printed stuff or whatever it is, mail, whatever. I set it in piles and then I work through it. But what happens is I end up moving those piles from place to place, and that ends up creating a lot of waste. I don't know if that really fits into transportation waste, but I'm moving those constantly, and really what I need to do is just take care of them as they come in versus allowing the batch work to happen, and then shifting these piles of work around everywhere.
Yeah,
It doesn't really fit with transportation, I guess,
no, it
but it is
does.
a waste.
So it does, because some of my clients would talk about just emails in general, moving, just not getting their email from A to Z. It goes A to D, back to B, up to H, and so the movement of information around is a transportation waste if we look at it in terms of behavior. So yeah,
Absolutely.
okay, really there. The next one is inventory. Okay, interesting one. Inventory in terms of personal behavior.
That could fit in with my storage piles, different storage points. Yeah, but also even just thinking about, number of emails that I allow stored up, and being able to take care of those real time as they come in, or block time to be able to reduce or eliminate the batch of emails that comes in. I think is a good kind of personal example for that.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
I think
yeah. Go on, Andy.
I was just going to say, for me, a lot of previous type work, information and tools, the things that I'm actually choosing not to play in that space anymore, but I just somehow, seem to keep it.
You still
Like
have
the
it
old,
around?
old
Yeah.
set of screwdrivers or something in there.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I've made that conscious decision that, and my customers are telling me that that's not really where they would like me to play either. So it might be time to do a bit of 5Sing in a lot of those things, which I have been doing, but I still look around and go, oh, I've still got that old manual from whatever, or that old, that was another point in time. Let's move that, give it to someone else, or let's move it on, because
Yeah.
the value
There you
is
go.
being delivered by these things. So that's inventory of just useless information that I see now as not adding value.
There you go. Okay, good. And the another one I had related to that was where we hold too much information in our own heads. So it builds up in our heads and we don't externalize it enough. It's similar to kind of what you were saying, Shane, as well, with your example of not speaking, getting things out and not talking them through. So it actually ends up as inventory in your head. So yeah. Good, nearly there. So the next one, second last one, is motion. Mine is not enough motion.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Back out there. Any other examples?
I've found to help with, so not moving enough, right?
Yeah.
Or getting locked in the work, and I'll just finish this bit, and then I'll do this bit, and then I'll go outside, or then I'll go take the dog for a walk. Those really good moments that force you to have reflection and mindfulness, for example. So I have, I've been just, even some tech is helping me out. You set the little timers to say, and it says time to get moving, Andy. So I think it's not so much too much motion in that regard, but it's just helping me be more, the motions that I do are more effective. But I think in a wasteful space, about the information in your head, or having things, I guess it tied into my first point, was around kind of moving around way too much before I actually just pull the trigger on something. And that could be racing around to different places, or looking in certain areas online or whatever. It's just like, you're just buzzing around a bit too much, mate. You just need to, what are you here to do? What's the purpose of this thing that you're doing right now? Okay, step up and just keep it a bit cleaner. So yeah, a lot of bouncing around when get on with it.
Yeah, it's a common one. Yeah. And the last one is extra processing. So what are we doing in terms of extra? So we are, let's say, just doing too much of something that's just too high quality for what we actually need to be doing. Or, are we over explaining something? Are we over polishing something?
Yeah, it makes me think about Christmas cookies, actually. I spend quite a bit of time frosting the Christmas tree and putting the little bulbs on. And, there's a lot that goes into that Christmas cookie just for me to eat it. I think I just need to put the frosting on it, throw some sprinkles on it, and eat it, right? I mean, I don't.
Because does it taste any better with more?
It's the same. So why
Yeah.
do I spend so much time? I don't.
Yeah.
I agree. I would also say, like, for me, and this is purely or very much context related, but like some of the reports that I may be creating after doing a workshop or whatnot, I may trying to be like over processing them and trying to make them look too good.
Yeah.
Trying to like compare myself to, well, this consultant would do this, and they'd have, a 15 slide deck, and so I'm trying to replicate that, but it may not it's not me. I'm just going to give you the bare bones. Here's my observations, but it doesn't have to be all of those other things to really impress with fluff. Maybe it's going to be better to just hone in on what's most important, not necessarily font size and color schemes and all of that. I mean, those can help, but I think sometimes I can extra process.
And it's habits. It's a habit of a lifetime, probably. So yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
there you go. That's the 8
Love it.
wastes. And there's some habits we can all change, and maybe it'll be useful for somebody out there who wants to look at their own habits and behaviors.
Yeah, what a great way to reflect. For those of you that are listening in, as we wrap up here, that's a great exercise to take back to your team, or just for yourself personally, or your family, maybe, to just kind of walk through those together and just think about what are the habits in 2025 that maybe were not adding value to your life or to your team or to the customer, whatever it might be. And how do you want to change those? What are the things that you want to do differently in 2026 so that you can maximize the value for you personally, for your customer, for your family, for your team, whatever it might be. So what a great exercise. Thanks for sharing that, Catherine.
Yeah, Catherine.
Hey, we're gonna say goodbye here to 2025, and we're gonna pick up in 2026. It's gonna be a whole new year. We're excited to bring you guests from all around the world in 2026, just like we have before, but it's going to be even better. We have lots of amazing plans for the Lean Solutions podcast and how we can continue to bring value to all the listeners out there. And if you have some suggestions for us, reach out to any one of us and shoot us a message on LinkedIn. You can just private message us and give us suggestions. If you know a guest that you think would add value, or maybe you are a guest that could add value to the podcast, you have a case study you want to share, or maybe you have a suggestion about a topic or something that we can do a little bit differently to continue to add more value to you all. That's why we're here. That's what we're trying to do with the podcast, is really just have some really, really great conversations with people that are doing lean the right way. And so we appreciate you guys listening in and sharing the podcast with people you know. If you haven't subscribed, please make sure you subscribe. and we will see you in 2026. So let's go around the room real quick. Last just motivational comment for 2025 as we close here. Let's go to Shane. You always have a great words.
Not on the spot at all.
Go, Shane. Go, Shane. Good on you, Shane. You go first, mate.
I'm just gonna say, get after it. Like whatever it is, like Andy mentioned, talked about. Don't wait. Get after it. Try it. Experiment. Be courageous. Learn something.
Nice, good one, Catherine.
Yeah. So I'm gonna say do that, but also manage the shadow side of that. And don't go too fast, and take your time while you are going after whatever you're going after, and just make time to reflect and pause, those little micro reflections all the time. And like Andy said, it's about the what's going well as the what do I need to change or learn.
Love it. Andy.
Yep. Really excited. Thanks everyone for a fantastic year. But yeah, if you do what you've always done, you'll get what you've always got. So I think it's a really good time to reflect over these next few weeks if you're taking the downtime. And yeah, what is the goal for next year? That mindset of short-term urgency, long-term consistency. And I just cannot wait to jump into 2026 with you all. Have a great, safe, happy holiday season, and catch you next year. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Andy. For me, I'll just tell everyone, I think it's important that we write down our goals, write down the things that you want to do in 2026, show them to someone, and ask them to hold you accountable. That's the way you're going to make it happen in 2026. So for all of you, have a great, new year, depending on when this episode drops. I think it'll be before the new year. So have a great new year, and we will see you in 2026.